My name is Deborah Greenwood. My project is based on herbariums, dried collections of plants. I want to give a brief history of these collections. To begin with, here is the definition of herbarium that came from the Oxford Dictionary: a systematically arranged collection of dried plants, a room or building housing a collection of dried plants, or a box, cabinet, or other receptacle in which dried plants are kept. Medieval herbal dictionaries are the precursors to herbariums. These manuals were filled with paintings and drawings, and they gave the user a description not only of the plant's properties, but a kind of recipe for medicinal use. As time went on, the illustrations became more precise, and the emphasis on the healing aspect of plants shrank, and they eventually disappeared altogether in herbariums. The first documented use of pressed plants in a dried collection was in Italy during the Renaissance, and they were known as dried gardens. Early herbariums were bound into books. Once bound, no other specimens could be added, limiting to categories of classification. The botanist Carl Linnaeus found this unacceptable, and he changed the system into the one we still use today. Collections were not bound. Instead, the pressed plants were secured to a standard size paper, allowing for further inclusions. Another process for capturing plant images was coming into being. In 1842, John Herschel invented a non-camera photographic process called cyanotype. Anna Atkins of England and Herbert Dobie of New Zealand used this process to create amazing blue books. And these are a couple of the pages. When I found these works, I was stunned. It brought home to me something that I'd read about herbariums, how they often cross the line between art and science due to their aesthetic beauty. I decided to use the positive and negative force of plant images in my installation and chose printmaking rather than cyanotype because it would limit me to the contours of plants. I began my herbarium by making the paper. I used plant material from my garden. Some of the steps felt similar to getting the materials for the herbarium. First, I collected and dried the plant fiber, so my measurements for cooking them in soda ash would be accurate. Then I had to cut the fiber so that it was going to fit the beater in a size that it could handle, about 1.5 inches. I added 25% kozo fiber to the pulp to help with paper shrinkage, and it did improve the printing surface. After the fiber was cooked and thoroughly rinsed, it was put into a beater. Mine is a studio-sized beater known as a critter. It was created by Mark Landers of New Zealand. It's filled with water to a marked level, and with rotation over a drum, it mechanically beats the fiber to pulp so it can be made into paper. 4 years ago, my husband and I created a garden with native plants from Washington. I wanted to feature these in my project, and I knew that a friend with a garden in Olympia could help me fill in with plants I don't have. After making a list of native plants, I began to gather what I needed and press the plants lightly. I used the Burke Herbarium image collection to look up the scientific names of the plants in their natural habitats. After my research, I was interested to find that they use photographs of living plants in their inventory. And this is the way that I press the plants. I put something underneath them and put a piece of plexiglass over the top and put a little bit of weight on them. I began the printing process by inking a plexiglass plate and then laying the plant out on top. Then the plate and the plant are laid out on the press and a dampened sheet of handmade papers placed on the top, along with another larger size waste sheet, and then we run it through the press. What I found in this process was that plants couldn't be printed if they were too fresh because they would crush and they'd leak sap under the pressure, the weight of the press. But on the other hand, if plants were too dry, they became more brittle, and I found that the prints really lacked a lot of detail. The first time the plate goes through the press, a silhouette of the plant is revealed. Once the plant material is lifted from the plate, the positive details can be printed on a second run through. This is my final project. With a variety of handmade papers, and by placing both silhouettes and prints with details side by side, I found that many interesting possibilities arose for arrangement. For me, they echo that idea of the dried gardens of Italy. In doing this project as an artist, I felt that I was given an eye into the past and into the practices and aesthetics of many accomplished collectors and scientists.